Hello, hello. Welcome back to Adobe Live, everyone. We've got a fun little stream setting up today. We're going to be going through some new AI stuff with Adobe Firefly, and if you've not discovered it yet, there's been a lot of noise about it lately. So this is an artificial generation tool for creating imagery and other stuff based on Adobe Sensei. And I've got a funny story about Adobe Sensei. So at the moment, I'm currently in Japan, as you may have followed in previous live streams. My name is Joe Allen, by the way. I'm a travel photographer and filmmaker, and I host plenty of Adobe Live content. And whilst I've been in Japan, I've been meeting a lot of locals, and I happened to mention to some people that I do some Adobe live streams, and then they introduced me to some new people who came in. I was in a bar at the time, and the conversation was all in Japanese. I had my Japanese ears on. I was listening, and things started to sound a bit funny, and I didn't understand why. And then I realized that I kept being introduced to everyone as Adobe Sensei, because of course Sensei means teacher in Japanese. And so throughout the whole bar, I was introduced to everyone as Adobe Sensei. I can let you know, I am not the sensei behind Adobe Sensei, behind the AI generation. So yeah, that is definitely not me. But I can see in the chat, if you want to come and join us, by the way, we are live over on behance.net/live, and we can have some conversation happening here. So if you want to come and join us, then Behance is the place to be. Otherwise, we can stick around on YouTube. I'm actually struggling to get the chat to refresh on my screen. I'm not sure why. I have a second screen here, but it's not showing up. So we are just going to open it up on the iPad separately, and we'll get Behance up and running so I can see the chat as we go. Hopefully we will have this loaded. Cool, we'll work it out. Right, so for Firefly, and hopefully you can see my screen now. This is a beta version at the moment, so it's newly been released in the last, how long's it been now? A week or two, maybe 10 days or so. This is super fresh, to the point that I am incredibly new to this. So I only got access to this earlier, and I've already got some ideas on what I want to use Firefly for. So Firefly is a way of giving text prompts to generate imagery and create assets and other stuff. And immediately, my first thought was, how brilliant is this going to be to create storyboards for upcoming video ideas and films that I want to make? So I'm going to run through the text to image option, but we can see we do also have some others to play around with. We've got text effects, recolor vectors, and some in-painting. So we saw some in-painting with Melanie and Tim last week, I believe it was, which was a lot of fun. But I'm going to do text to image. So all of the imagery that you're seeing here has been generated artificially. It's based upon a whole library of commercial imagery from places like Adobe Stock, and it's based upon certain descriptions and text prompts that you add in. So we can see we've got a giant text box at the bottom here, and in order to create our images, we just ask for it. So we just say, give us something off the top of our head. So I've got a film idea that I want to make. So I spent a lot of time in Osaka recently, and I'm going to try and make a film at some point that sort of documents my time alone there, and the sort of, I guess, life that I've had over the last month or so, because it's been incredibly interesting. They've been, the people in Osaka are so overwhelmingly welcome. I've been welcomed there with open arms everywhere I've gone. So I want to try and document that in some sort of future film. So to start with, we're just going to go for, let's go for city skyline ground level. Let's just do a search for that, and let's see what comes up with. So I want to set the scene for the opening of this video. and I'm going to set my criteria to photo, and I'm going to change my aspect ratio to widescreen, because of course we're making a video, we want it to be in a widescreen format. And I still can't get the chat live. Apologies on that. That is quite bizarre. Okay, so we've got some imagery that's just been created here in different widescreen formats, and we can scroll through and we can change our style. So we can go for particular styles here. I'm actually just going to leave these as they are because I just want it as a photo style. Color and tone. I think of Osaka as quite a warm-toned place. It's known as like Japan's kitchen. It's one of the best places for food across all of Japan, in particular kind of street food and just a wide variety of things. And of course, food is very wholesome. It's very community-driven, and I think that's quite warm. Lighting-wise, let's go for golden hour. We love golden hour imagery. And composition-wise, I've already put in my search term ground level, so let's just hit generate, and this should now create some new imagery. And wait a second, and cool. All right, I've managed to get the chat live, I think. Okay, so we got some imagery to start with, and I'm just going to download one of these, and we just got a little prompt here just to make sure that we are keeping AI imagery transparent in our ethics and everything, which is good because we don't want to string people along in things that are not genuine. For my storyboard, I'm going to create a document in InDesign, and I'm just going to place these in a little bit of a grid. In fact, let's create a brand new file. And let's keep it simple. Let's just go for 30 by 40. Love that aspect ratio. In fact, actually just do 40 by 30 so that you can see it better on the screen. 12 columns. Yeah, happy with that. Let's have a little preview. Maybe let's do 6 columns actually. And yeah, we can work with that. Cool. And let's just create a very simple grid of imagery. So 1, 2, let's go for 3 by let's maybe get 12 frames for this storyboard, and let's just save it as where we're going. So new folder, this is Adobe Firefly storyboard. Cool. And version 1, always label your files. So let's now just drop in our first imagery, and let's go to fitting, fill frame proportionately. Sweet. So we're going to open this this film with a bit of a low level, just kind of like a city shot. Maybe we would apply some text over at some point. But yeah, we're going to build this out. So next, I want to have a frame that is matching up with maybe some bit of a voiceover. So this is going to be kind of a personal film. And so I'm going to have a shot of myself looking out of a window, perhaps over the city. So let's have a person looking out window to city skyline. Let's see what comes up here. Okay, and I can see in the chat, finally, hello, welcome everyone. So I can see Rajiv, Zishan, Gareth, Tim is in the chat, Barbara, Felix, hello. Welcome everyone. If you're enjoying AI art and generative imagery, then this is the place to be to experiment. So I've just searched for person looking out a window to city skyline. You can see I've actually got Grammarly running in my Chrome browser at the moment, so that's what these red underlines are, because it's saying this is not a real sentence. What are you on about? So one that I think stands out is this one. However, I'm thinking, because I know that this is going to be a film that has myself in it, maybe I should specify male person looking out. And let's generate that. You can see we're keeping all of our existing search terms over on the side. And let's see what comes out. Ooh, okay. First one looks great. Happy with that. That one's a little bit closer to that female one that we saw a second ago, which also looks good. It's kind of wider. Oh, I like both of these. Okay, let's download that. And let's go continue. And it's applying the credentials. And then a second. Great. So now let's go to here. And in fact, I'm actually going to select all of these frames and set the frame fitting option, auto fit to fit fill frame proportionately from the center. Cool. And that didn't seem to do it for that one. All right. There we go. And where was that second one? In fact, I did that the wrong way around. Let's go boom. And let's go boom. And to make things easier, let's just open that. Ready. Cool. So we're starting to build out a little bit of a storyboard here. So we're starting with maybe a bit of a city view, maybe pulls back a little bit, and then maybe a voiceover starts and start to talk about, you know, how I've been in Osaka and how that's been, and then maybe a close-up, maybe as the thoughts get a little bit deeper, a little bit more emotive. And then maybe we go to a scene that is a little bit more in line with what I'm talking about, which could be, let's think, night walk through, you know, let's see what happens if we put the name of the city in itself. Okay. So I tried this earlier. I put Tokyo in, and it did recognize some various landmarks from Tokyo. It had Tokyo Tower, it had the Sky Tree, had other things, and definitely some views that I've seen previously, but of course AI generated. So this is all being completely created by servers around the world, and yeah, it's all happening on the fly. This has not been created. It's by any person. It's using a whole host of imagery and styles to kind of pull it together based on our search terms. And you'll notice it's keeping the tones pretty well. I'm quite liking this one. That definitely feels quite Japanese and in style of urban space. You always see a lot of like warm-hued lighting and very, very clean areas. So I'm just going to download that one straight away already. Quite like that. And that one's kind of interesting. Shows a bit more of an interesting path. It's not necessarily accurate as an urban scene, but the idea of where I want to use these images is storyboarding, which is kind of, it's a little bit like squinting at an image. You sort of get an idea of what you're trying to convey without it being too accurate. It's a bit like in the days of when I used to work as a designer and you'd create wireframes for websites and apps, and you'd keep them quite basic and grey and just, you know, I actually got to a point where I used to just sketch them rather than doing them digitally in any format. And the reason I did that is because sometimes when you show them to stakeholders and to other people in meetings and conference rooms and all sorts, you get people that say, yeah, I like it, but I'm not sure on the shade of grey. And genuinely, people do say that. And so sometimes these types of use cases, you actually don't want them to be super accurate, because there will be people who maybe, how can I put this politely, have strengths in areas other than imagination. And so they will, you know, they will be maybe from other departments, and, you know, they're maybe not in the creative mindset of looking at how things could be. And so they'll see something and think it's a finalized version. So keeping it kind of rough and ready can actually be a good thing in this instance. Okay, So we've got our night walk through Osaka. Kind of happy with that. Osaka also has a kind of a mini canal system. So let's see if we can put in the actual name of it. Riverside scene. Let's see. So Dotonbori is the name of one of the main streets throughout the center of Osaka. Annika's saying that was polite. All right. Well, you know, we have to choose our words carefully in certain meetings and corporate scenarios. I'm definitely glad to be fully independent of that life these days. All right. This is kind of cool. Liking this one. This one's feeling a little bit like a morning scene, actually. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what drew me to thinking that was kind of morning. Maybe it's kind of a bit hazy, a little bit. Yeah, kind of like there's a mist coming up from places. Okay, so let's move on from there. And then I think maybe if the voiceover section is maybe getting even deeper, then we can search for close-up of male eye looking through window with blinds. Let's see if we can do something like that. Whilst that's loading, I'm just going to drop in my next two images, which were, so it was this one and this one. Nope, that one. So let's just go bing, bong. And I did that the wrong way around. Okay. Let's go back to here. Oh, interesting. Okay. Liking this one immediately. Potentially questioning how I would actually film that myself, because that looks like it's being filmed from the other side of the window with the blinds, but maybe we can hold the blind kind of close. That one's maybe a little bit more accurate. We've actually got blind that goes all the way across. I'm not really sure what happened here. A little bit broken. So let's download that. And yeah, let's now drop that in. So where are we going? Boom. Okay. And if anyone's got any suggestions of where this narrative could go, then yeah, happy to take suggestions. Okay, so Osaka is incredibly social, and I did find myself having many nights and experiences meeting people in, you know, different eateries and bars and all sorts. And there's something quite special about traveling with just a camera, because when you enter these places and you put the camera down, and people are just kind of interested, and they come over and they're very open to saying, where are you from? And, you know, what are you taking? Can I see images that you may have taken today? And you sort of build up a bit of a rapport with people. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. If you're traveling by yourself, have some sort of prop, have something that makes it kind of interesting. You know, it's like a conversation starter. And in my case, where I'm looking to improve upon my Japanese and things, it's been invaluable. So rather than going back to my apartment after I've spent the day shooting, I'll just stay out and then continue to, you know, carry my camera with me. Makes a huge difference. Okay, so let's go close up of plate of food on bar. Okay, let's see what comes up there. Alrighty. Oh, that's fun. I've seen my dad's in the chat. Well done, Dad. Joining Behance, creating an account. Okay. So, this is kind of interesting. I'm not even sure what that would be. It's kind of bread-like, quiche-like, bit cheesy, bit coriander-y. Not entirely sure what type of meal that is. That is also kind of interesting. All right, let's go for this one. Stood out to me immediately. I think the angle is just kind of better. So let's download that. But then let's also just play around with some of these settings and see what other options we can get. So maybe composition-wise, I wonder what happens if we do shot from above. Maybe we'll get like an overhead look of things. Freddie mentioning it's pretty crazy how AI has grown in a few months. You know what? It really is. Like, it seems like so many companies and organizations were creating all of these things secretly, and then boom, they've just all come out. They're just all out and about competing with each other. And I don't know what it is about this particular year or timing of things, but man, has it blown up hugely and developing rapidly. So it's great to be able to have kind of public access to this as it's developing. But at the same time, not gonna lie, there is always going to be a terrifying aspect to it because, you know, these images are just being created computationally. You know, there's the imagination aspect comes to it from the way that you search for things and the terminology that you use, not necessarily the actual creation of the things. But where I think this is going to be great is so many people want to be involved in creative things, but you know, for whatever reason, maybe they have you know, shied away from it throughout most of their life, and so they don't have that experience on creating things. But doing things like this allows people to get their ideas out into some sort of vision. And I think if more people can share their creativity and unlock those parts of their brains, I think the world would be happier. So I think that's a great thing to have. Okay, so I've just adjusted the composition here. Slightly different, not hugely different, but maybe I'll go for this one. We've got a drink involved in there as well, which kind of helps set the scene on things. Let's go back to our storyboard, what we're building. How are we doing for time? We've got about 5 minutes left. Oh. Okay. Okay, so this one feels a bit more familiar, that it's definitely on a bar, but it also looks a little bit lost, a little bit lonely. Whereas this one, I don't know, it feels a little bit more collected because it's got that drink. So let's drop that in there. Did I have any others that I needed to drop in? Nope, I think we're good. Okay, cool. So what else do we want to add in? So I've got this idea for this film that I want to introduce a lot of the people, you know, the bar owners and other customers and stuff. And there's this common phrase that I've heard everywhere that I've been, which is everyone just being like, "Welcome to Osaka," and it's just, maybe it's a cheesy idea, I don't know, but this idea that people can, like, you know, open up to the camera. Maybe it's a wide angle shot. Let's go. Can I search wide angle front view of person with open arms, happy? And let's see what comes up. Okay. Not quite hitting the mark just yet. They look a little bit lost themselves. Maybe I can add eye contact. Okay, that didn't quite match what I was looking for. So let's maybe change the search. Likewise, I can actually remove some of these, so I can take off the shot from above. That's causing an issue, definitely. And let's just wait for this to load, and then let's refresh that. I think, yeah, the shot from above was making it a little bit weird. Okay, come on. Let's just finalize that fourth one, and then we can refresh. Question here. Balancing the use of AI is really necessary. Do you believe that what differentiates us is the ability to be creative, and that we'll probably have a division between prompt creators and artists? Yes, that's kind of exactly where I see it going. Where much the same that in my background with graphic design and the places that I've worked, quite often you will have people who, you know, maybe you went to college, university with, and maybe through companies and stuff, and you start on the same pathways, and then you just end up drifting slightly. And some of you become more technical and more sort of creative, sort of like artworking and actually creating the thing. And others become more theoretical, and they're maybe a little bit more like a producer's role or like a project manager's role. And they bring that same creative training that they had, that theory, through university and other places, but they go through more of like I don't want to say hands-off approach, but it's more like objective thinking. And this is kind of similar. You'll get like prompters, prompters and makers, and in some places there'll be an overlap between them. And in cases such as myself, there could be times where I've got ideas for things, but I don't have the full set of skills to go and make them, and so I may use AI to just, help fill in the gaps on stuff. It could be that maybe I've got some imagery taken in cities, and I'd actually like to just quickly remove all of the litter from a scene. And so if I could take one of my photos, drop it in and say, remove the litter, and save me having to go through and do it all, that would be great. Of course, it would be good to have AI in person where people can actually do that in general. Cool. So we've got some imagery here. We are actually out of time, unfortunately, because I have a second stream coming up. This one was a bit of a bonus one, jumping in. But yeah, this has been a fun introduction to Firefly, and I invite you to go and check it out and sign up for the beta and get access to it. Should be a lot of fun, and things will change rapidly this year. So thanks for watching, everyone, and come and join us as we go through some After Effects stuff in just a moment, rolling on after this one.